right. We are live on the air.
Resurrect the Republic, RTR Truth TV.
Whew! That was hard getting on here.
Yeah, for anybody who might catch this, this is an official test, but a test nonetheless.
Tough. But, okay, look, I'm looking at Twitch. We're coming over Twitch right now.
All right.
I put the links in the description. Twitch TV
Okay.
/ RTR Truth TV. We're on Periscope too. Want to check us out on there? It's the same thing, periscope.tv / RTR Truth TV. And of course on YouTube as well. It says we're on YouTube, YouTube events, whatever that is. It's telling me we're live. I hope so.
YouTube, the same ones that terminated my account.
Brutal, aren't they?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Well, when you're telling the hardcore truth, and when Parkland popped, we got to the money of the cops that were, there was cops that came forward. The federal grant money was being spent into these counties in Florida and all over the country, really, but to suppress crime stats for the marginalized students. That's Marxist buzzword for anybody who's not white. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a white nationalist channel or anything, but let's call it like it is. We have a Marxist SJW nitwit infestation in America today. So anyway, yeah. So we were exposing the federal grant money that was being paid to these police departments who were suppressing the crime stats and basically bagging the money. And this is what happened with Nicholas Cruz. And I had been on the phone. I had called the NRA, their legal department. I left word with Dan Alosh. I spoke with Kurt Schilling, the former Philadelphia Phillies pitcher. Went on his show and told him all about the Promise Grant program and how it led to the police completely being prevented from interacting with this kid for I don't know how many times it took for him to pop. Then there's the whole other aspect of Secret Service being there a week before and people saying they heard more than one shooter and all kinds of stuff that happened. And we were tied up in researching and investigating the money trail, and we were leaving that other part to other folks. Well, YouTube or somebody we must have resonated with did an interview with Clive and Bundy from the Bundy Ranch to stand off with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, and 30 minutes later, poof, channel gone.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're starting from scratch all over again with a couple hundred subscribers from a backup channel I had that I
didn't know it happened that quick like that. That's insane.
Yeah, dude, they wiped me out in the Great Purge of January, I call it. The Great Conservative Purge of January.
We all remember that because there's a lot of people that were part of that. It's almost hard to believe, isn't it?
It's surreal, man. It's like 1984 right in our faces, and nobody's doing a freaking thing about it.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
It's like, holy smokes.
Yep. So anyway, for those of you tuning in, my name is Tom Lacovara-Stewart. I'm joined by Joe Kaiser, two good friends. Joe has stepped up to help really spread a lot of the information that we share on Resurrect the Republic radio show. Right now, I'm kind of on the road, and we're testing this stuff out, and we're setting it up. But I'm in Arizona, so you may hear a highway in the background. That's usually not how we do things. I will be in a studio, and things will be quiet.
Well,
but anyway,
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta.
Oh, we gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean?
You gotta start somewhere, right? It bothers me that I can't see this on YouTube right now, but you know what?
It's YouTube. I'm not surprised.
We have. I don't know why it won't connect. I really don't know. Everything went good when I was on my own channel and I was trying it out. Then I made the accounts for the RTR and connected them all.
Yeah, then you Twitch named everything RTR good. And it all went down the toilet.
Twitch is working good. Periscope is working good.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, YouTube's just not like the start button's not working for YouTube.
Hey, let me tell you something. YouTube can go. You know, I want to keep this clean, but you know what? I'll buff on Google YouTube. You know what I mean?
I get it. I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, we're starting all over from scratch, and for those of you who may be out there listening and want to know what we're about, I've divorced myself of parties because I think both parties are inherently, completely, and totally corrupt, as with the majority of the federal government anyway. And I'm pretty harsh on, even though I lean to the right, I'm pretty harsh, even though a lot of people are kind of indoctrinated to believe in Israel. I'm kind of, you know, I take a hard stand on Israel. I believe in moral consistency, right? So moral consistency dictates if I'm willing to go out to the Bundy Ranch and get my head blown off protecting the property rights of ranchers who are having it stolen by the federal government. At the same time, I don't care what your religion is. If you're having your land stolen by a national or federal government that's basically just taking your land and giving it to other people who are supposedly supreme over you. Yeah, I have the moral consistency that I have dictates that I stand not with the left, not with the right, but in moral consistency. So I'm kind of like one of those paleo conservative Ron Paulish kind of people. You know what I mean? It's really just common sense stuff. Facts are important. You know, the mainstream media is completely. If we watch your, hey brother, your chair is right on the edge. There you go. Sorry, folks. I'm on a mini vacation as we wait to move into our place. So I'm not in the studio. I'm in a hotel. But anyway, so that's what I'm about. I'm kind of like a Ron Paul conservative who's sick of parties. I guess you'd call me a little bit Jeffersonian-ish. I believe in freedom. I believe in your right to be able to do whatever it is you want to do the way you want to do it without people bothering you, as long as you're not harming anyone else or poisoning anything. And we share the news from that perspective, which is not really a perspective that is mainstream. So we've been shut down quite a bit, and this is an effort right now. What your folks are probably watching or listening to right now is an effort to break free of the censors in 1984 control of YouTube, because I assure you the channels that they terminated and are keeping terminated, those are exactly the channels that people need to see and hear.
You know, just to clarify things, there's no like radicalness going on. It's not like jaw dropping, yes, but it's what certain
You can
people
define
don't want
radical.
you
Our
to
founders
hear.
were radicals.
Well, I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it. I really don't. I don't know if I would say.
I'm pretty radical.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's shocking. I think a lot of things are shocking because a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't follow.
Yeah, well, the problem is that people don't learn the truth about things and are stuck in a place where they get their media from not only the mainstream sources that are CFR controlled, have been for a very long time. We'll be getting into that for those of you out there that might not know what the Council on Foreign Relations is, but they're a body of individuals that have been controlling mainstream media and press, along with, of course, the CIA with Operation Mockingbird, which is just what we know. It certainly goes farther past that. There was a Russian KGB agent defector, Yuri Brezmenov, who outlined the communist infestation of the United States. And he was a defected KGB officer, and he posed as a journalist. That was one of the main jobs of people to infiltrate our country were as journalists. Because they had First Amendment free speech protection, which I've always argued that communist subversion is not free speech. But sometimes I get arguments with that. Well, when you see them rallying in the streets with their raised fist and dressing like Antifa and promoting the things that they're promoting and smashing things, well, it's not so funny anymore, is it? Because this is not. There's a difference between free speech and ideological subversion. And if you get a chance to watch Yuri Brezhnenov's interview, he discusses specifically Soviet communist ideological subversion and their goal, their plan to take over the United States in the future by means of this ideological subversion. Now, many people think that the Soviet Union, when they collapsed, ended. I disagree with that assumption because there's certainly no evidence of that. We have in Russia right now a KGB president, just like we had over here with Bush. We had a CIA president with Bush #1.
Yeah.
When you have the highest office of the intelligence services, who ultimately are the intelligence services for the world banksters, when you have them as president, you have an illusion. It's like Plato's cave, man. It's bread and circus. It's not real. It's what they make you want to believe is real.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yep, that's what it is, brother.
Oh.
So we cover for people listening. We cover the news in a perspective that we have a no bullshit meter.
Yeah.
I basically just. We're lied to so often every day that when you tune into our stuff, it may shock you a little bit. It may even challenge some of the beliefs that you've already had, but that's okay too. That's what the two-way platforms are, and the comments and the
Absolutely.
Jumping in and getting involved is all about. And then we can lay down to you proof of the Israeli fingerprints all over 9/11. NYPD recordings of bombs being detonated on their way to the George Washington Bridge.
Absolutely.
Israelis arrested, trying to flee the truck, as well as the Israeli art students that were camped out on the World Trade Center with boxes and behind their photographs of them, all coming from a demolitions company that sells demolitions equipment. I mean, there's 240 Israeli spies that were arrested and deported without trial. And leading up to this, historically, Israelis have been arrested, tried, and convicted for violating national security in the United States. And we're allowing these people with dual citizenship to occupy high places of government. We're allowing loyalty oaths. And what I mean by loyalty oaths is that every member of Congress, they're asked to sign a pledge to Israel. And by doing so, they'll receive money. Sometimes they'll even start campaigns for you to raise money, and once it gets off the ground, they'll turn around and they'll ask you to sign the pledge, and if you say no, they'll just pull the entire operation. Funding dries up right in front of their faces. Ultimately, most of them sell out, and then you have a foreign government occupying essentially your highest agencies of government by means of coercion, of loyalty oaths, which is treason. John F. Kennedy wanted to expose Israel's nuclear program, as well as the fact that Israel had stolen the United States nuclear materials and secrets and took them back to Israel. John Kennedy warned that if Israel started building nuclear weapons, it would be a direct cause for other Arab states surrounding Israel to do the same, and they would be justified in doing so, even if we happen to not like those states. When you literally hold a gun to another sovereign nation's head and you expect that sovereign nation is not going to make preparations to be able to relieve the gun from their head, you're crazy. It's just, it's insane.
Yeah.
So you have fellow conservatives of mine like, oh, Israel, God's chosen people. Well, I can debate this from two angles, religion and politics. And in both cases, I win very easily. I'll win very easily with religion. The Jewish Talmud says that all goyim, that is all non-Jews, are the equivalent to cattle. And okay, so the religious debate is one in the supremacy that it promotes for those ideologically following that faith. They actually believe that if you are not a Jew, you're cattle and subject to be enslaved by them. Now, they'll tell you that they can't lie, they can't cheat, they can't steal, they can't do all these things. And what they won't tell you is that this applies only to themselves. Because as goyim, cattle, you're not a human being. You're lesser than a human being.
Yeah.
So you see, so they're deceptive and they make you think, well, we can't lie to you, we can't cheat, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't befriend you, we can't be members of your government and be disloyal. We can't do any of that. But in fact, if they are religious and they're following the dictates of their religion, they absolutely can, they have, and they've continued to. And it should be of no surprise because all one needs to do is read and learn what it is they know and what it is they believe. And then one will very easily come to the determination that it's a problem. Also, 700 years ago, the majority of those in the Middle East right now that call themselves Jews were Russians, and they were converts to the faith. They're not of the bloodline. They're not of anything like that. They're not even Semitic. So to then claim heritage and cultural bloodline and land property and all that kind of stuff from there, it's really not cool. You don't need to be a leftist. You don't need to be an SJW to stand for moral consistency in these things. You can still hold a more freedom-minded, say what you want kind of minded. Because let me tell you something, man. The authoritarian left is trying to shut us down. Those are the ones who are responsible for the YouTube purges. Those are the ones that are responsible.
They're the ones
for
that I call. I think that's radical. That's when I think radical. That's who I think. These far left.
Taking your freedom.
Yeah, like that's to me. That's like you're off. You're over. You're done. Like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
left is a big problem. and the right is infected with those that bounced from the left in 1930s, the neoconservatives or neocons.
Yeah.
They're Trotskyites that came from the progressive left and infected the Republican Party in the 30s under William Kristol. So a lot of people don't even realize they call themselves Republican, that they're just Republican-flavored communists. If you support big government, if you support central planning, this is a really good example. We were horrified with Obamacare, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're told it's going to be gotten rid of. It's going to, we're going to chuck it. Okay, good. Then here along comes Trump, who in many different ways I support, some ways I don't, but many ways I do. Kind of schizophrenic on my support of the president at this point, just because. But then we heard repeal and do what? Replace. Wait a minute. Government, the whole point was government had no place, authority, right to get involved in the private industry, because when it does, that's communism, dude.
Yeah.
Or at best fascism, commun-fascism, right?
Yeah. It's so got the stank. The stank is there.
Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, you have the government basically, trying to take over an industry. So here we have repeal and replace. So it's Obamacare light is what I call it. And it's not fooling me. It only fools people who are trapped in their parties.
Yeah.
You'll hear a lot of other conservatives, oh yeah, repeal and replace. Yeah, Trump knows what he's doing. Repeal and replace. You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You can support Trump for the things he does right, but call him out for the things he does bad, man, or else we're not going to change anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have the same stance that you have. I struggled with my identity as where I fit in for some time. For some time. And then I realized I don't have to fit in. Why?
No, I don't want to fit in.
Why do I have to be part of a retarded system where it's one against the other? The votes go far this way or far. Why? What kind of system is that? If you had a company, right, and you had a team of people working on projects and you're trying to get stuff done, how would your company go if that's what you had? You had complete separatism right down the middle. This group of
Yeah.
people think this is right. This group of people think that's right. Let's vote on it. How much stuff's
Yeah.
getting done? Where are you going to be? So, yeah,
Well,
you know what? People ask me, what are you, a Republican? I'm a nothing, really. It
yeah,
doesn't
no,
matter.
it's just
Doesn't
no,
matter.
we're freedom-loving
It doesn't matter.
Americans. That's what we
I
are.
have morals that I think are good and proper and
Yeah,
how they should
yeah, like
be.
thou
And
shalt not murder and that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, like I'm right there with you. And any you want to tie it to a religion, it doesn't matter. It all fits together. You
Hey
know.
man, I'm a Christian. I'm not. I don't care about admitting it. I'll talk to atheists. I'll talk to Christians. I don't
Yeah,
care. I'm
it's
not like
whatever.
you know. We all
I
need
mean, if you're an
to come
atheist, that
together
doesn't
and
mean
talk.
that you don't have good morals. You know,
Yep.
if you're
Yep.
Muslim, that doesn't mean you don't have good morals. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, I know quite a few that do it. Now, like I said, when it comes to faiths, I have friends who are, even though what I just said back there a little while, I have friends who were Jewish, I have friends who were Muslim, I have friends who were Christian, and we fundamentally disagree on matters of religion. But if you don't have an open door and a dialogue with folks that you disagree with, and you become closed-minded, and you get caught in an echo chamber, a sound bubble, and your critical thinking turns off because everybody's just repeating things around you. And if bad information gets inserted into that cycle, you end up consuming it and becoming it. And that's what I find with most Americans now that are trapped by religion. I fundamentally have problems with certain aspects of the Quran. However, I don't live in an Islamic nation, and my freedom to not live in an Islamic nation, I'm not worried about it. And it's subversive to the Constitution to for any religion to try and take over the government. Although we can have a whole nother argument on socialism being the new American civil religion.
Yep.
Another time.
Yep.
Another time we can do that.
Yep.
But ultimately, what I'm saying is as long as people, and this is the difficult part, if people are, say, an admitted rabbinical Talmudic Jew, or they are of a sect of Islam that is militant, and take certain applications of either the Talmud or of the Quran, and they interpret them in a literal sense, especially the Talmud. There's like volumes of the Talmud. It's not just a book. But I sat and read a good part of the Quran.
I have too.
And it says, not to befriend Christians or Jews, and you can lie to, there's different things that I have a problem with. Now, the people that I know that are kind of like moderate Muslims tell me that they don't take those things literally. They take it into context of the history of the time, of the different things that were going on. And this is what these people really believe.
Yeah.
My opinion is they're not really, and I don't mean to offend them, but in my opinion, they're not really Muslims. And if you're Jewish and you don't go by the Talmud and you don't apply the religion to your life, then you're not really Jewish. That's a faith. It's not a race.
Yeah.
There is a certain cultural identity to being culturally Jewish and possibly not religious or political.
I've noticed that a lot. People will say, well, I'm Jewish, but they couldn't even tell you the first thing about Judaism. I know a popular.
They're cultural. I call them cultural Jews.
And
those are the people that I'm friends with.
Yeah, cultural. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, cultural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because no matter if they lived in Russia or they lived in Germany or wherever it was in Europe, that they pretty much converted from, and then all of a sudden decided that God became a Century 21 real estate agent and gave them a bunch of land and occupied it, but that's a whole nother story for another day. If they don't apply that. Now, you also have political Zionism. And don't get me wrong, there's also political Islamism in different sects in different countries. But
What is
Zionism,
political Zionism? I mean,
well, Zionism is a movement that began in the 1800s and was founded by Theodore Herzl. It's only a 200-year-old movement. It
it's
is
not
not
all one package, is it?
historically,
Is it all one
huh?
package? Like if you're a Zionist, you're a Zionist, and this is what it is.
Zionists are those who, in my opinion, and now they have their own definitions. My opinion, those whose loyalty comes first to the Israeli state.
The Israeli
Period.
the homeland,
And
right?
it was born. Yeah, it was born out of bloodshed, terrorism. Um, it really it was not a smooth transition. People had their land stolen from them, their houses of generations stolen from them. I just urge people to just, put yourself in a position where you're home one day with your mother and your siblings or whatever, and you have a bunch of jackboots come to the door and basically drag you out of your house, bulldoze it, and build an apartment complex that's Jews only. And these are
Yeah,
illegal settlements, and they're still going up. So I
wouldn't
don't
be
care if you're
happy.
conservative
Wouldn't
or
be
you're
happy.
liberal or whatever you are. If you can condone that because of something that your interpretation that God said that I can prove very easily, the covenant that made these so-called strong promises was broken by the Jewish tribe a long time ago. But Christ was the fulfillment of the promise according to Christians. So now we could get into the theological debate, but the whole point is this. Even by the Jewish faith, they were not to reclaim any kind of Holy Land or anything like that until their Messiah returned. Okay, well now ask any of them who their Messiah is and where is he, and they won't be able to answer you because there isn't one. Therefore, they're in violation of their own religious tenets. So that's the religious end. Then you have Zionism, who was born of a lot of these hardcore Talmudic Jews, some of which were atheistic Jews, but latched onto the religious aspect of it because it justified, it gave them a moral high ground to be able to commit land theft. So
I can see that.
these were mostly communistic Jews, and by the way, a lot of the Jews that were caught up in the sweeps in Germany were Marxist communists. They were Bolsheviks, and this is something that's not talked about in history. And one of the reasons why people keep getting banned off of YouTube is because they're not allowed to learn the real history of what went on. So we can't have an intellectual debate about what went on.
I know through my own research of digging deep and trying to be very open minded about things that I have found totally different than what I thought. Without a doubt.
Yeah, of course.
Without a doubt.
As soon as you start looking.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. As soon as you start looking, that's when you find that type of stuff. Yeah.
With some hardcore facts to back it up.
Yep.
No,
tons of them.
No going around it.
We're going to be sharing them in future episodes. We're going to be sharing them and give people an opportunity. If they disagree, to please provide your evidence. Now, evidence, of course, isn't name calling. It's not ad hominem attacks. It's not telling us you're wrong and blowing raspberries at us. It's you provide your evidence, and be careful, because if you provide your evidence from any number of corporations or mainstream news outlets that we have quotes from the CFR that have cooperated in the suppression of an agenda that has been going on for a very long time in this country by the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and those of their ilk, I would advise you that we are ready to respond accordingly and quickly with evidence to counter any such business. And Time Magazine, New York Times, Washington Compost is what I call it. I'm talking about these networks that are so absolutely thoroughly infiltrated and controlled by people who admittedly, by the way, Council on Foreign Relations quote, "We'd like to thank Time Magazine, blah, 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 for their discrepancy," or basically it was Rockefeller thanking them for keeping their mouths quiet while they enacted their agenda. So that proves mainstream media collusion from a very long time ago. Yeah. And if anybody thinks that ever that just stopped.
No. How did they stop that? Come on.
Of course they didn't.
I mean,
of course they didn't stop.
What a joke. That started a long time ago. That was
Oh yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah,
process
sure
within
did.
itself to even get started.
Yeah,
Really?
and they used the sentiments of the people
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
achieve objectives. Let's take Vietnam for
That's
instance.
the core of it.
I'm an anti-communist, right? So naturally, if you show me a bunch of commies that are being oppressive to people, you put a gun in my hand and shove me out of a helicopter, I'm going to go fight against the commies. So this is what happened in Vietnam.
Yeah.
They took a lot of the conservative-minded anti-communist folks went off to die.
Yeah.
And that was because the communist revolution was really coming here. It was already here and
Is,
happening in the United States.
isn't that
They
crazy
needed
how
to
that went down?
kill off as many of our hard fighting anti-communist men from our with the draft as they could. And it was brilliant.
Yep.
It was absolutely brilliant. Throw us into a war with people that were set up to fail, set up not to win, set up just to cull people and build their heroin racket even more.
Yep.
We found that all came out. The CIA and Air America and the stuff going on
Well,
out
that's
in
what the CIA
California.
is there for, right? They're their own little corporation. They're their own little money
Mm-hmm.
making machine.
Yeah, they have those cover corporations, they call them.
Uh huh.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing. It's all amazing.
yeah. It's just basically you have a free check to be a criminal.
Yep.
Hey, here you go. Here's your pass.
And then
Go.
don't go against
Yeah.
them. Don't go against them. You'll be like that Harmon Wilfred out in New Zealand, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going against them, bro. I'm telling it how it is. Maybe
He you
I'm out
looked
here.
into
I'm out
that,
here in
didn't you?
Arizona where William Cooper was gunned down, bro.
You looked
So,
into that, didn't you? That Harmon Wilfred story.
yeah, I know about it.
It's pretty nuts. Nutty.
Of course it is.
That's and
You had
that's
some stuff. You had some stuff you wanted to share tonight, didn't you?
and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
That's just
Yeah. Of course it is.
Oh man, well you know what's been new here is nothing new, but out in Texas, I follow a lot of cop watchers and amendment auditors, and I watch them all, whether or not I really like them or not. I still watch them to see what's going on. So out in
Yeah,
Texas,
yeah. Some of them, you have to be careful because
yeah,
they're so anti-cop.
yeah,
But I want to make something clear here. I believe in diplomacy, and by diplomacy, what I mean is, I don't agree or condone with the modern American policing construct the way it is. Not to say that I have friends who are cops, so
yeah,
I'm not
yeah, me too. Yeah,
anti-cop.
no,
I'm
me neither.
anti-corporate law enforcement with a non-elected individual in charge, i.e., a chief in charge of a department that has no civilian oversight or accountability. This is a standing army; it's not a police force, and they are armed like standing armies, not police forces. And sometimes they need to be armed that way. However, if they were if they were small units that were used discretionally and not being used ever increasingly as a normalization, and that's what's happening, then I'd probably feel differently. But every police department should have an elected official at its head. And the reason for that is accountability, closest to where they serve, and that is in the towns. So if they really did serve the people, they would really literally be directly accountable to the people. And if they're not, then they're not really serving the people, are they?
I think that's the biggest missing gap is that accountability between the people and
Yes.
the police.
Yes.
That's the
They should have citizens
that's the
review
missing key.
commissions.
That's the missing key right there.
Yes.
Yeah, something completely independent. But
our history calls these citizens review committees committees of safety. They go back to prior to the revolution. They were forming them, and that is the power of the people in making a decision. And the decision has to be based on the rule of law. So the citizens can't get together and decide one day that they just want to start burning witches at the at the stake and just start throwing people to their deaths. they have to follow the rule of law. That's the whole point of a constitutional republic. So they have to follow the rule of law. First, there has to be a law that they can identify has been violated, and there are many that are violated on regular basis. They're never they're never addressed. Misprision of treason being one of the most severe, violation of civil rights being, another issue. We need to delve into the civil rights thing, and that all goes back to the Civil War. So we're going to have so many episodes coming up where we're going to show you kind of like start from the beginning and tell you where we came from, how we went wrong, and what path we're on now, and what we need to do to reverse it. But part of that is the Committee of Safety, which would have the foreperson would have the power of say, like a grand juror, and they would be able to deliver papers directly to a grand jury foreman, not through a prosecutor or an agent of the state, because that only adds a buffer zone to the accountability of government.
Yes.
So if you have direct access to a grand jury foreman and be able to present your evidence to a jury to decide whether to indict, which is how our republic was set up. If they return an indictment, then you move forward with charges against people who are violating the rights of other people. And, we can't give these people the excuse anymore, well, we were just following orders. When you are violating the Constitution the level that they are, in some departments respecting it. So I don't want to make it sound like, Brad Rogers, a sheriff out in Elkhart, Indiana, one of the most respected sheriffs I've ever met in my life. And there's more like him, Grant Palmer, or Grant County Sheriff Glenn Palmer, out in Oregon. Another one, these guys, they know that they serve the people that elected them and put them there. And that's exactly what they do.
I love it.
It's a check and balance. It's not a challenge against the federal government as much as it is, and it's often not used is the term check and balance. It's a check and balance on the process. When you have somebody who took an oath to the Constitution to protect his constituency, his primary job, anytime a federal action is done in his jurisdiction, is to review everything and make sure that he doesn't need to take a stand for the people, because we have bureaucrats in Washington that defy the president all the time. We have bureaucrats in these land agencies that are told by, like out here in Oregon, Representative Walden, who passed legislation that said that the BLM had to put up fences alongside these ranches if they're going to try and claim that the cows are in trespass, right? So they don't put up the fences, the cows are in trespass, and they charge them anyway. So the Bureau of Land Management says to the lawmakers, screw you, we're not doing it, and we're still charging them. So you have these agencies that are acting as almost independently from the federal government.
Yes.
Empowered
Yes,
allegedly by the federal government, but doing whatever they want.
Yes, they do.
And that's what we are trying to inform people of, because it's happening everywhere on some level. So, yep, it's a mess. Somebody's got to fight it.
It is a mess. Sometimes I sit there and think, like, where do you start?
Like, you start by telling the truth.
You get well.
You have a story out of Texas, and a clip that you wanted to share.
Leon Valley. I had just put it up in the background of what something that went down the other day. Leon Valley. Oh man. Okay. They arrest witnesses. Take their cell phones because they say they witnessed a crime, and that is now part of their investigation. They're going to take it. And on top of it, they tow cars, and they tow cars from private property because people were witnesses to crimes. They say, no crime. Like, you know how they do it. You know, we'll figure the crime out later, or come up with something
Yeah,
that, you know.
yeah, that wouldn't have went down so well if I was there, bro. I tell you.
It's crazy over and over again that this keeps happening. It doesn't even look right. Nothing about it looks right.
Well, share this. Share this with us. Run the clip because I haven't seen it yet.
All right, let's see. Blah, 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 blah. This is a good one here.
You got those too? There you go. Good. Pretty good, huh? Glad you're cheering. There you go, man. Let her through. Sorry, man. Have a good day. You're under arrest for obstructing my Get back. Get back now. Okay.
Okay.
Stop. Over here.
So one person gets told they're under arrest for, I believe, obstructing the hallway or the entranceway there.
Right.
And then, from what I saw in some other video clips, these other cops were told, like on the way out, you know, get all the cameras, blah blah blah. So this is how they took care of it.
What are you doing? We're confiscating your camera. You're witness to a crime. Cameras evidence of crime. You're seizing your camera for evidence. For evidence.
Seizing your camera for evidence.
Let go.
Yeah, the answer to that is no.
We're seizing your camera for evidence. You're giving
Yeah,
a lawful order.
Found sand.
You're being given a lawful order. I mean, they act above the law. They're
They say that to everything, man.
the one and the mighty. You'll do what I say because I said it. So right here in Leon Valley, what they're calling in front of this doorway, the strip of carpet, they're calling that lava. If you do anything more than walk through that strip into their building, if you stand there for 2 seconds, you're now blocking the doorway and they will arrest you. Anybody who witnessed this and that is videotaping it now has to give up.
Like it's a major felony, right?
Now has to give up their cell phones because they seize it. They've done this already, I believe, twice. Earlier today, they said to everyone, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call a media meeting or conference with the chief of police. He's going to come out at, 3 o'clock. I'm just making that up. 3 o'clock. So everybody gathers to videotape, the conference. And it was just a ploy to get them all together so they could seize their cell phones because supposedly they witnessed a crime. And on top of that, they're towing their cars from private property. One gentleman went into a Walgreens, from what I understand. Really? He had to go get something at the local Walgreens. One of the cops saw him go in there. As soon as he saw him go in there, he called up the tow company and said, come get this car and impound it. Thank you. For no reason, because thugs. They can.
They're thugs.
They're thugs. They're bullies. Plain and simple. It's retaliation. It's all retaliation. You want to come into our town? This is what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to report on it.
So
for those of you that come across the stream, we're going to be moving back to nights on the Republic Broadcasting Network, but the name of the show is Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on the Republic Broadcasting Network. You can get to the Republic Broadcasting Network by republicbroadcasting.org, or you can go to RTRTruthMedia.blogspot.com or ResurrectTheRepublic.com. Our Spreaker podcast is embedded on all sites or on a menu tab for podcasts. So we go live every day. We've been going live every day, 11 o'clock a.m. Arizona time. That's Pacific time. And we're going to be moving back to night soon. So if you're interested in this content and our analysis on these thugs and basically the blue mafia over here. Tune into our show. Anyway,
I like Blue ISIS. I personally take on.
No, I don't like Blue ISIS anymore.
No, you don't like that?
No, I don't like it because somebody that I really don't like a lot way overused it. And I just, yeah, I'm not gonna go there.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, the police department and but
this.
A lot of them are the Blue Mafia. A lot of them are the Blue Mafia. That's a fact.
I have a pretty good one that people have been mirroring about the chief of police. So typically, what I've noticed in these police departments is the way these officers act is directly coming from their superiors. Their superiors have piss poor leadership, and whatever leadership skills they do have, they portray. They want them to act like these barbaric tyrants.
Yeah, like the IDF.
So the chief of absolutely.
Yeah, like the IDF.
So the chief of police here in Leon Valley, he's an individual that got caught cheating on his captain's test.
Yep.
Fought it, brought it to court, was tying up taxpayer money in the meantime. Finally, they made a deal with him. They said, listen, you can be chief of police. We're going to give you a town of 30 cops. Go in your corner. Have fun. We don't want to hear from you again. And don't cheat again, will you? Be a good little boy. So he's moved into this town, and this is what he's created. This is what he's created. This is.
What did you expect?
This is the works of what you have.
Crony government. Yeah.
How is this guy even a police chief? Well, there it is. It is what it is.
This is what happened.
It's their association.
Communist nations where people thought the workers of the world were going to unite and they were going to run everything. Well, then they would find that the bureaucrats would put their yes men and their order followers into positions of power and thuggery, and then they would just do whatever the hell they want. And that's exactly what they did. And they were brutal. And millions of people died. Millions of people died. And we don't even talk about them. We don't even talk about them. Armenian genocide, the Bolshevik Revolution, these are how these people act. They're authoritarian. And I try and tell, some of my friends who are cops that are Republican, I try and tell them, you really need to open your eyes up and check out what your agenda is really focused on. Even there in Woodbury Police, there where you're at, go to their webpage and scroll down. You'll see the rainbow LGBTQ, whatever it is, task force, whatever it is. Dude, this is a Marxist movement. We're not talking about gay rights, just, equal rights. We're talking about a Marxist-based movement. And that is what the LGBTQ thing has been since the 60s.
Yeah. They've
been primarily Marxist-based. So I stand opposed to their movement, not because I want anyone to be discriminated against, beaten, whatever. That's up to God to punish people for what he thinks is wrong. My whole point is that you're a police agency, not supposed to be getting involved in politics. And part of the LGBTQ, now that they've grafted transgender and all of that into it, is identity politics, which is a progressive, Marxist-based policy, right on the page of the Woodbury City Police Department in the guise of being all-inclusive and protective of certain classes of people. Every individual should be protected from being able to be physically or in some way molested.
Yeah,
every individual equally across the board. It doesn't matter where you put your penis. It doesn't matter whether you have a penis or a vagina. It doesn't matter. And when you make certain classes of people, when you give them special forms of rights, this is not an American ideal. It is not vaguely constitutional.
No.
You were born equal. Equality of outcome is not guaranteed. It's based on each individual, their responsibility, how they hold themselves, la da 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 da. So they're trying to push to give blanket equality, whether you've sat on your mother's couch for 15 years and eaten donuts and playing Nintendo, or you went off to medical school and became a surgeon. Everybody's equal, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no. So we should take the kid off the couch and we should hire him at Johns Hopkins. That's what we should do.
Yeah,
Because he
yeah.
happens to be a skin tone that's not the same as the doctor who really would have had the
Everybody's
job.
equal.
So let's just put some nitwit in there. So that's the whole
Equality,
thing,
man.
and it's just crazy.
It's equality.
But I don't care what people's color is. I don't care what their race
No.
is. I don't care any of that.
No matter.
I base what I think about people on an individual level. And like I said, this is why I have Jewish friends, right? Because people say, "Oh, well, you're against Israel." Yeah, I have Jewish friends because I'm willing to talk to people on a human level, even people I disagree with. It's not, and everybody has been so programmed by this anti-Semitic thing. Now it's taking over everything, and they call it hate speech. I don't hate anyone. I disagree with certain ideologies that enable people to do things that I think are morally wrong.
And that's not
if you
hate.
want to equate that to hate, well then, be my guest. But I mean, it's kind of a hard stretch to say, well, yeah, I really don't like you bombing entire neighborhoods. See, I'm kind of against that. Oh, you're a hater. I'm the hater. I'm not the one dropping the frickin' bombs. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, I love it. I've challenged them forever to come on my show and argue with me with more than name calling, and nobody, not one, brother, not one of them has had. They'll criticize me from a distance. They'll call me names from a distance, but not one of those cowards has the balls to face me on the air in public and step up with their name and debate me on these facts. Not one. And that's all I ask. I doesn't need to be anybody famous. I'm not trying to get kudos. I'm not trying to get views. I'm not, none of that. I would like somebody to prove me wrong. And when somebody can prove me wrong, then I'm open-minded.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Doesn't happen though. We have anybody commenting or anything?
Let's see. Got any comments?
Probably not yet with the test, huh?
Nah, not much action coming through right now. But what's cool is these live streams will get saved, and later on, whatever platform they're on, they can go back and watch it as well. So this isn't a one-time shot. It'll be up. It'll be up on 4 different platforms.
Well, this is the tester anyway. When we do this, we need to have an opening. We need to have content, and we need to have a follow routine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is a good test.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I've never done this before at all. I've never done put together a live stream production that was real. I've live streamed, but nothing nobody else can do from their cell phone. So
right.
There's a lot of ironing out of certain things, and
hey man, this is what citizen activism and media is all about.
Still learning.
Is regular people getting involved and speaking their minds and hearing a point of view that you don't normally get to hear. You only get to hear it through the lens of the mainstream media's reporting on this person said this and this person said that.
That really stinks.
Yeah.
That's no fun. That's no good. Really. No. I definitely welcome anyone to come through that's got anything of worth, of value. We're not playing games here.
Yep.
You have anything worth of value you want to share? Feel free, and we'll address it without a doubt. We're nice people. We're good people. We're not here to harm anybody or to make
Nope.
We want what's right. That's all. We want what's right. We're Americans. We want to do the right thing, and we want what's right for us, for our friends, for our family, for everyone, and it doesn't matter what you are, what color, what kind of sex you prefer.
Yep, doesn't matter.
None of that. None of that's got anything to do with it.
And we can agree to disagree and still be friends.
Absolutely. I have friends that I definitely don't agree with on all sorts of different levels, but we're still friends. At the end of the day, we can still hang out. We're still friends. We still send pictures back and forth and our little stupid selfies and yeah, we're still friends. I think it's important that you listen to other people, you get their point of view, and not only do you get it, understand it. Why do they think that way? What's their reasoning? What's their logic? You have to have something to gauge your opinions against. There has to be something. There has to be. And you have to be able to change your mind too, because sometimes it's necessary. That's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. But it
well, brother,
happens.
I tell you, it's an interesting world.
It is very interesting. I like meeting people though. I like, look, bring it on. I love to network. I love to talk to people. This is what I live for.
My camera finally just went on. Took long enough.
That's funny.
That's all right. Well, folks, Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast. Tom Lacovara-Stewart. You're joined by Joe Kaiser. This is the test run for RTR Truth TV. We hope to get all kinds of people involved with RTR Truth Media. My show is Resurrect the Republic, but I created RTR Truth Media to use as a networking platform with other folks who want to take part, who want to provide and help with research and bring their own reports from their own home states. Anyway, this is what we created it for. I'm going to jump off now and get back in to the air conditioning because I'm in Arizona in the desert right now, and even though it's nighttime, it is pretty hot out here. And my wife is trying to sleep, so try not to tick her off too bad.
Yeah, better not.
All right, folks, Resurrect the Republic, you check this out. This is our tester. So we're going to be coming at you with some pretty hard-hitting reports and interesting information. Resurrect the Republic. All right, brother.
All right, Tom. Thank you very much for coming on. It was good to have you. I definitely appreciate it. And I hope to talk to you again soon, man. I definitely hope to talk to you again soon.
We're working together, so yeah, I think that'll probably...
Well, we talk a lot, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. We had a good conversation here. Dude, sometimes we have such good conversations. I'm like, man, I wish we had that on video, or you know what I mean?
No, now we can do that.
Now we can do that.
When I want to talk to you about something, I'll send you some links, and you can play them on the live stream.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Put them up there for people to see.
Well, I'm going to be getting off of here too. I'm putting together a show. I'll be back from time to time.
Hey, man, thank you for everything you're doing, brother.
Yeah, thank you. All
right, peace out.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Resurrect the Republic!
Woo!